Hi, Stuart Bull. Hello again, and welcome to Play Your Own Blues Solos. I'm going to be taking you through a number of ideas, suggestions and concepts that hopefully are going to make you play your own solos and get your own things going. So there's going to be quite a lot of material that we're going to be going through, some simple, some a little bit more difficult. So do hang in there. You know the process, just review the stuff if you need to go back, rewind back and watch it again. But hopefully it's going to be some fun and you're going to be able to play your own blues solos at the end of it. So I'll see you a bit later in the DVD. Okay, here we go with the first section of the DVD. Now I've got a couple of backing tracks that I'm going to be playing to throughout the DVD. One is going to be a minor blues and one is going to be a major blues, but it's not really going to make too much difference because without getting into the theory, the major blues you can use the minor pentatonic scale and the minor blues you can use the minor pentatonic scale. And hopefully what we're going to be doing is just learning how to build solos from the floor up. Okay, now I'm just going to very, very quickly go through the main scale that we're going to be using first of all, which you probably already know, but just for those of you who don't, we'll go through it, and it's the minor pentatonic scale. We're going to be doing it in A, and from the bottom it's going to be 5 on the low E, 8 on the low E, 5 on the A, 7 on the A, 5D, 7D, 5G, 7G, 5 on the B, 8 on the B, 5 on the high E, and then 8 on the high E, and that's the whole scale. If you don't know the 5 minor pentatonic positions, it might be a good idea to check those out. You don't need to know a whole bunch of scales to play good solos. You just need to really know one scale, depending on the style of music that you're playing, and then what to do with that scale. Okay, so let's get on with playing our own solos. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the things that you really need, the main 2 things that you need to play well is a good sense of timing and a good sound. You need to be able to make a nice sound on the instrument. If you can make one note sound nice and one note in time, as far as I'm concerned, you're halfway there. Playing a whole bunch of fast stuff that's not in time and doesn't sound good is just not going to get you anywhere, in my opinion. So the backing track that we're going to be playing along to shortly is around this kind of tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the most common mistake, or the thing that I see a lot of people doing wrong, is when they're playing along to a backing track or with a band or whatever it is, and they start to solo, they haven't really got, I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of people haven't really got a good sense of timing as to where they are, what the notes they're playing is where they fit into in the bar. So in other words, if a backing track's going along like this, they'll just start playing and they kind of, they don't know whether the note's falling on 1, whether it's falling on 2, whether it's falling on the end of the 2, the end of the 3, and I'll get into later on what that means. But they don't actually know where the notes are falling. They'll play a lick and they don't know how long it's going to last. And this is where you get problems, because basically if you don't know the format, the timing format, and where your notes are falling, it's very, very difficult to get a strong foundation for playing. So the first example that I'm going to give you is going to be just one note per bar, okay? So when we count 4 to a bar, we normally count it, well, pretty obviously, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to count more than one bar, you can put the bar number on the front. So in other words, you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So the first example that we're going to do is just going to be one note per bar, and it's going to be the first note of each bar. So it's basically going to work like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, and so on. So there's going to be one note at the start of each bar. So just to give you a little demonstration before I do it with the track, it's going to sound like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now that note is going to last for the whole bar. It doesn't have to, and we will get into that later on, but in order to play your own solos, you do need a strong foundation. And I'm hopefully going to demonstrate that this is going to sound good even though it's very, very simple. So the first thing I'm going to do is just play along once, just using a very simple 1 note per bar, and then we'll extend that and see where we can take it from there. Now, what you heard me play there was literally just 1 note per bar. And the only thing I did to manipulate the note was add a little bit of vibrato. Okay, so basically I played the note and added a little bit of vibrato. So, okay, we're not playing the most blistering solo of all time now, but we have established that we are aware of the timing of what we're doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so to take this to, like a further stage, what we now need to do is manipulate the notes a little bit and think, well, what can we actually do to make 1 note per bar sound a little bit better? Okay, so here's some ideas to do that. I think the most obvious one we did, which was just add a bit of vibrato. I think the second most obvious one is to add a bend. So now, instead of it just being a regular note, we could take this G note here, for example, at the 8th fret B string, and bend it up a whole step. And then just make that last a bar. So now, all of a sudden, our 1 note, it sounds a little bit more, we've taken it a little bit further. Okay, I think the next thing that we can do is slide, okay? So what we could do is just say slide to a note. And just add the vibrato. So we've got a bend and a slide. Okay. Another thing that we could do is add the blues note now to the scale. We did the minor pentatonic, and all we're going to do is just add this E flat here, and that's at the 8th fret on the G string. And then all we'll do there is just slide it, so it's like a little grace note. So now we have a bend, a slide in, a slide above, and so we've got 2 or 3 ways that we can, manipulate a note there. Now, another way would be, for example, to do a very quick hammer-on. So in the way that we did this, we could go. Now, because it's so fast, it doesn't actually count as a note. It's not like the 30-second note of the previous beat. It's not even worth thinking about it in terms of that. It's a bit like when a drummer does a flam, blut. If you're playing in a band and a drummer does a flam, blut, like that. Now, the note that's written before the main note is just what they call a little grace note, just to show you there's a note there. And we can do that with a... If you imagine that like a drummer's flam, obviously they're separate. You hear the drummer's ones together kind of slightly. This one, you only hear the top one. Okay, so just recapping, we have a bend, slide, do that a bit better, a hammer-on, I think we did the slide from the blues, and then we'll just do one more, a pull-off, a grace note. And there's various other ways that you can pick up from, various publications of finding these note manipulations, if you like, just making them sound a bit more interesting. So, okay, still working at 1 note per bar, okay? What we're going to do now is do the same solo again, or not exactly the same solo, because we're basically inventing these solos as we go. It's 1 note a bar, but what we're going to do is just add these little manipulations to now hopefully take the solo to another stage, because we're building. This is the crucial part of this, is that we're building. So let's do the backing track using these ideas. Okay, hopefully what you heard me do there was take the solo to just slightly further up the road. Still one note per bar, but now we had a bend, a slide, hammer on, pull off. And I don't know whether I remember using it or not because we're basically improvising here. A slide up like that. So we've taken the solo to a further stage now. Okay, so we want to make the phrasing a little bit more complex. Not too much more complex because we're going to it's building blocks here. So what we're going to do now, instead of just having 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to play two notes per bar. And it's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2. Okay? And we're going to repeat that phrase throughout the solo. So I'm going to give you a couple of other ideas now that will fit in with a phrase like this, okay? Because as phrases become more complicated, then obviously certain licks will fit around those timing ideas. And one that I think is really good is if you get this C note here and just do what's called a slight blues bend, and you pull it 1, 2, and then you resolve it to that A note there if you're in this key. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Another thing that we can do is take both of these notes, which is 5th fret on the G string, 5th fret on the B, pull them slightly. So that will be note 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Another one would be from this 5th fret D string to this 7th fret on the D string, and that will be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've only extended it to the first 2 beats of the bar, but it's already becoming, a little bit more complex. Another one would be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, like that. Now another way of doing it, you notice that I sustained this note here that I bent. I played that 8th fret on the 8th fret G note on the B string. And then with my second finger, I bent this 7th fret G string up a tone. Now another way of spicing that up a bit more would be to cut that off. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But the beauty is, whatever you play, this invisible pulse will be going behind it. Because the problem a lot of guitar players have is the second they stop playing, they don't know what pulse is that's going on behind them, what the timing is. And that's one of the reasons that they keep playing, to try and let them know where they are. But the beauty is, it's almost like having a grid that's running on your brain and you're just filling in whichever notes that you want to. And that's the way of doing that. That 1, 2, 3, 4 is going around and you're going 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Even though this note is not sustained, the sort of the timing, the sort of invisible drum machine in your mind is still going. Okay, so without prattling on too much, I'll do the backing track again and I'll use some of these ideas and I'll show you a couple of other ways. As I develop the solo, I'll go back and explain some of the developments that I've made. So let's do the backing track and see if we can take it to another level. Okay, again, what you hopefully saw me do there was taking that phrase and repeating it with different licks. I used the lick, that one, then this one. And then you probably noticed me move up here and do this. Still using 2 notes per bar. Now, this is called, I've used this technique on some other DVDs that I've done, and it's called repetition of phrasing, okay? And basically what it means is playing a phrase in a certain area and then moving it to another area of the guitar, normally higher or lower, okay, to build the solo even further. Now, obviously, I didn't have both these strings available to me, so I just played it here, 8th fret on the high E, which was very similar to the phrase I did down here. Okay, I could have took it down to here, because I'm just repeating this middle part of the pentatonic scale. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the solo a little bit further now. I'm going to use the first 3 beats of the bar, 1, 2, 3, okay? So let's see if we can get a couple of licks around that. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, okay? Now there's a lick you can do there. Play those 2 together. Bend this 5th fret, sorry, this 7th fret upper tone. Okay, another one would be, what I did there was bend that 7th fret upper whole step, 1, play this 5 high E, and then bend this G note on the 8th fret B string upper tone. So we have this lick. Okay, another one would be, and as these phrases come along, okay, we're using the first 3 beats of the bar, you find licks that fit around them. It's much better to get the timing first and find the lick that fits it rather than the other way around, because you are building a good solid foundation of timing, and every lick that you learn, you know how long it's going to last, and then once you know how long it's going to last, that's how you know how many to put together to last for a whole sequence, and that really is, to me, is the key of it. So we have 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Another one, for example. 1, 2, 3. Just coming up to that 7th fret on the D string, sliding up, playing the 5th fret G, and then bending this 7th fret. The whole step. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then once you, and basically what you want to do is just say, right, okay, let's get some licks for my 1 note a bar, let's get some licks for my 2 notes a bar, let's get some licks for my 3 notes a bar. So let's see if we can start making this sound like a bit more of an advanced solo now, using these 3 notes a bar, and I'll go back to the backing track and we'll see what happens. Okay, again, hopefully what you saw me do there was play 3 notes a bar using that lick, that lick, that lick, that lick. And I actually put another one in as I did it, which was a semitone bend down. You push the string up and let it fall. It's the same as doing a slide, but you're doing it with a bend. With a slight bend on that 5th fret G string, and then resolve to the A on the 7th fret D. Okay, now you're probably thinking the next logical step would be to play 4 notes to the bar, which would be, which is true. Now, the only slight problem with that is playing 4 notes to the bar. Every bar for a whole solo is going to sound fairly uninteresting. But what we'll do is we'll do it so you can hear what it sounds like, and then once we've got these groups of phrasing ideas that we've been discussing, we can sort of, you know, I can tell you how you can mix them up and make them into something that's hopefully going to make sense. So again, let's look at some 4 note phrases. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And using timing as a way of inventing licks is great, because even there I just made that up on the spot, because I thought 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I'm on the same note. Where am I going to start? Okay, I do 2 bends. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, again, let's think of another one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm bending up this 7th fret G string tone, then playing 5B, 5 high E. If you find it hard to bend that, you don't have to bend that one, you can just leave it. So you can see they're 4-note licks. Okay, here would be another one. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, just sliding down as we did before to the 7th fret G, then playing 5, then playing 7 on the D, 5 on the D. Slight bend on the high E string on the 8th fret, play 5th on the high E, then play the 8G, G note, which is 8th fret on the B string, and then bend that note there. Okay, and you just basically start to find lots of phrases like that. Another one would be, just using the blues scale note, which is the octave below the one we were talking about earlier, and basically what you're doing there is playing that 5th fret on the D string and then coming down chromatically from 7, 6, 5. Okay, now I'm going to do a demonstration of this 4 notes per bar, but it's not going to sound much like a solo, because normally you wouldn't just keep playing and keep playing and keep playing. But we'll do it to take this group of demonstrations to a logical conclusion, and then what we'll do is we'll show you, or I'll show you, how we can mix them all up. So let's do it with the backing track. Okay, again, you can hear that probably sounded not the most musical thing of all time, because it's 4 notes to a bar, and normally music is broken up in some way into different phrases. But the point of the matter is that we've had 1 beat of the bar, 2 beats of the bar, 3 beats of the bar, and 4 beats of the bar. Now, the key for me to making a good solo is to be able to mix all those up randomly at any time. Now, what I suggest that you do is that you practice each concept individually. So practice 1 note of the bar at the start, then practice the first 2 notes of the bar, and then 3, and then 4. And then when you get comfortable at where everything lies, and I wouldn't actually worry too much about where you are in the scale or what note you're on. The beauty of playing blues is if you stay within that scale, most of the notes sound right most of the time, especially in minor. And I also think it's a good idea to let your ear guide you to a degree. I'm not suggesting that you don't study any theory. A little bit later on we can talk about what notes fit which chords in terms of the roots and stuff like that. But when you're practicing these things, I would just, fiddle around the scale using the phrasing, because if you have good phrasing, you can actually have more chance of making the not so right notes sound right. But as I say, in the situation, most of these will sound right all the time, so you can really concentrate on the phrasing and make sure you've got good, strong timing. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a demonstration where I'm going to, and I haven't rehearsed this at all, I'm just going to make a solo up on the spot using the concepts that we've done so far. So it's going to be a mixture of the 1 beat to the bar, the 2, the 3, and the 4, and hopefully it's going to sound like something musical.